guys, this is Stormouse03. Welcome back to my Evil Within 2 Classic Mode walkthrough. This is the second part of my playthrough, and it's going to be the last half of Chapter 3 through the very beginning of Chapter 5. So, this was where I saved for the first time, and I had already done quite a bit in Chapter 3, so if you're just joining me now, I already picked up quite a bit of the stuff in Chapter 3, and am now going through the rest of the level. So, I'm going to come over here and grab this statue, and I figured after I made the save, I did the rest of the more, I guess, difficult stuff from the level, so you just want to be careful going over here to get this particular statue because there can be a bunch of the enemies around, and you want to try to wait for a moment like I had right there where you have a window to go up there and smash the statue without getting bothered. And now we're going to head back to the auto shop and take care of a witch in there and grab some stuff. And then move over to the sniper rifle area and then head on with the rest of the level. So here is the like auto machine shop or whatnot. And there's a couple of things to pick up in here. And then there's a little switch. It's part of the Rogue Signal side quest, if you're doing that. And the answer to this is to flip the second and the fourth switches, and that will turn on the power. And once you've turned on the power, there's going to be a witch that comes out of the door right there on the left. And you just want to wait for her to move. She's going to move over behind the car that's to our right. And when she starts moving, you can kind of get along behind her and give her a sneak stab. Now that won't kill her, so you need to move away quickly. And I figure the best way to kill her is to run quickly out of the door, move back, crouch, let the door shut, wait for a few seconds, and then this allows her to get to the door and kind of lose you and then turn around. And then you're going to be able to sneak up behind her and kill her. And so you want to be careful, and you just want to give her enough time to have turned around and whatnot. But shouldn't be too difficult. A couple of stabs to the back of the face will kill her. And then there are a couple of things in here that are left. There's this jar of gunpowder in the car right here. And then there's a trapdoor that's under that car. I believe that there's a syringe in this room right here. Yeah. And so we're going to head down underneath this car here, down the trapdoor. There's a couple of important things down here. The one that you definitely want is the explosive bolts that are in this area. Because the bolts are, I think, a scarcer resource than bullets, because you get a lot more gunpowder than you do the parts to make the different arrows. And so you just want to be aware of that. When you pick up the key card from that guy, there's going to be a zombie that comes out of the grate right there. You want to run into this little alcove, and he's going to lose you and then move into the room on the right. And then you'll be able to get up behind him and kill him. Alright, now we're going to use the key card to get into this door. I believe this is the same code every time. It's 9676. But you just want to look, it's B34, so you want to put in the numbers that are at B3 and B4. And it's got a couple of nice little items in there, including a medical kit, which is cool. And here in this case is what we really came down here for, the explosive bolt. Heading up this ladder, there's going to be another explosive bolt that you can pick up. So you can use this trap to kill this enemy, or you can pick up the bolt, and I suggest picking up the bolt. So when you go through that tripwire, it makes the bolt appear across the way there. And then we can get behind this enemy here and sneak kill them instead of using the bolt trap. And so the move that I just did there, I don't think that I've done before. But it's being able to move from cover to cover. Basically, there's another bolt up here. Basically, if you are behind cover there and look at another piece of cover, there's this little arrow, this little down-facing arrow that appears. And if you push right bumper, you can quickly dash from one piece of cover to the next, wherever that arrow is pointing. And so that's a really nice way to move around at a little bit of a faster pace, and it helps you to get around behind some enemies and things like that. Right here, you don't want to head over to the right. You want to go straight through here. There's an enemy that appears behind the boxes, straight across from where that little forklift was. And you just don't want to mess with them. It's just an extra thing for you to kill. And I don't think that there's anything over there that you can pick up. And so it's kind of just like a wasted resources if you end up having to shoot that enemy with your gun. So anything that you can avoid, I say avoid. Because the more resources that you can save here at the beginning, the better you're going to set yourself up for the end of the game. And it's nice to be able to go into boss fights and to be able to go into the latter half of the game pretty stocked with lots of stuff. And so the less that you waste here at the beginning, the better. The less that you waste throughout, the better, but particularly here at the beginning where it's easier, there are easier enemies. It's easier to avoid stuff, etc., etc. So now we're going to head toward the back left corner of the map. And we're going to be getting a statue. We're going to be getting the other part of the sniper rifle so that we can create that. And we're going to be avoiding this screamer enemy. I'm really not sure what these things are called, guys, so I do apologize. There's the witch that is kind of like a witch from Left 4 Dead. That's why I call her that. And then there's this like toxic, smelly conglomeration abomination thing that like screams, and it calls all the other enemies in the area to you, and it's just unpleasant. So we want to try to avoid it if we can. Here is another key. And you just want to kind of hide here and wait for this. I'm going to call it the toxic abomination. That's what I'll call it. The toxic abomination lady. And so when she screams, she does two things. She'll alert all of the enemies in the area to your presence. She'll wake up any of the ones that are on the ground kind of playing dead, and they'll come running for you. And the second thing, and far worse thing, is she takes all of your stamina away. So she calls everything toward you, and then you can't run away, which just sucks. So be careful of her. When you go into this room, there's going to be this guy banging on the door. You just want to stealth kill him. And then you're going to pick up the sniper rifle parts from the weapon bench. There they are. And then you're going to be able to fix the sniper rifle. Funny story. If you come to this area first, before you go up to the roof where we picked up the broken sniper rifle, if you come to this room first, the broken sniper rifle will be in here, and then the parts will be on the rooftop where we picked up the sniper rifle. So it's kind of interesting the way that they did that dynamically. I went ahead and made a smoke bolt. I try to keep a couple of bolts of each thing stocked. You know, just in case. And so we're going to see where this toxic abomination is. I really got to figure out what these things' names are. And she makes the most horrible noises. It's disgusting. You're disgusting. Yes, I'm talking about you. You're disgusting. Now turn around and let me walk out of this door. Please. Please and thank you. Okay. So once she turns around, so you can run past her toward the back of the map and the place where we're ultimately headed, but a lot of times she'll see you and she'll scream and things will follow you, and you can usually get away from those things, but this is the safer route here, so you just want to backtrack this way. And this just sort of avoids potential mishaps. Because if she screams and catches you in the wrong place and takes your stamina away, it can be very unpleasant. So, and also this route affords us the opportunity to break some boxes and pick up some stuff and get the herb that was on that doorstep. So now we're coming along here to the back of the map. There's an area up here where you can pick up an herb, and then a little bit farther along there's like a little stash. There's a broken down car or truck, and there's a little stash with a couple of items there. And then we're headed here to the gas station. And this is going to be finally the place where we need to go for the actual main quest. And so we've stopped collecting things for the moment. And now we're going to listen to this signal and carry forward.
What the?
And so after this little sequence where you go through this gas station and find out what happened to Lily as she's running all around, it's going to spawn in some new enemies, and I would say these enemies are one of the most irritating in the game. They're these like two-headed crawly dog things, and they're very fast and they can do a lot of damage, and so you really want to avoid them when possible, and be very careful of them, because they can definitely do some damage, and they usually travel in packs. And so there will be 2 that will spawn in kind of to the left of the gas station going out, that we're going to avoid altogether. There's going to be a couple more that are up in trees at different points in the level that we're going to avoid. And then there's going to be some more that we have to fight in an encounter a little bit later on as we're carrying forth with the story. But you definitely want to try to avoid these first ones if possible, because they're mean, and you don't want to get caught by them. They'll chew you. It's no fun. These little things, it's funny because it's like, I'm not sure how long ago Lily was here. It makes it seem like Lily was like just here. Like we just missed her. Like if only you hadn't derped around and looked for stuff in all those houses, you would have found her. But I don't know, I get the sense that she was here a much longer time ago than that. Around in this corner is another statue. So we're going to grab our key as the prize. And then if you come around on this side and kind of hug the edge of this gas station, you will avoid those double-headed dog things and not have to deal with them, which is very, very nice. And so we're going to keep running and get to the next signal. You just want to take a nice middle path here. And head out of the back of this house. And this is where the coffee pot and everything is. And so you can head in here, you can top off at the coffee pot if you happen to get hit by any of the creatures, and you can also go ahead and unlock the lockers, which is what I'm going to do right now. Just to have some access to some more items. So if you're just tuning in now, something that I mentioned in the first video of this guide is that the lockers are really cool because they don't give you the same things that they give you normally in other playthroughs. So because you can't use green gel, it will never give you green gel, and because you can't use weapon parts, it won't ever give you weapon parts. And so it gives you a lot more of these crafting supplies, like the gunpowder and the herbs and different stuff like that. Things that you can use to craft some of the bolts, which is awesome. And then obviously also ammunition, so shotgun shells and sniper rifle bullets and handgun bullets and all that good stuff. So using those to your advantage is highly advised. Another thing that's different, if you played the game through before, you would know that if you put in some of those slides into the projector, the cat, after each one, brings you green gel. Well, it doesn't replace it with anything in this playthrough, not that I noticed, and so there's no real reason to turn in those slides. We're not going to pick up a whole bunch of them. I'm not doing a collectible run right now. If you want to see all the collectibles and everything, that will be in my the other part of the guide that I'm doing for this, which will be 100% of everything else, besides classic mode.
Let's try this again.
So we're gonna check out this next signal. And follow it along, and there's a couple of things to pick up along the way, but mostly this is just doing these steps because they're necessary in order to progress the story. So I'll go ahead and talk about the area that's coming up. The area that's coming up has quite a few enemies in it, and it can be tricky to get through. I've managed to stealth a lot of it, and at other times they've seen me and it's just gone ridiculously weird. And so you're gonna see I think a little bit of both. So you'll see a little bit of stealth, and then you'll also see what happens when I mess up, and or maybe I don't even mess up, but they just see you for whatever reason, because they have X-ray vision sometimes, it seems. But I think it's good to show both of these things, because it's nice to stealth when you can, but if you run into trouble, you want to know what to do.
Thank God.
And the worst thing that you can do is kind of panic and not really know where to go or what you're doing, and that can result in you getting caught in a bad spot and result in a death. And that is what you want to avoid at all costs on this mode.
It looks like she stopped here to hide.
And so you're gonna see kind of what I do, but basically this area, you can run a whole big circle around it and enter from some ladders and buildings on the other side.
Lots of good places to hide in there, I bet.
And so when I get in trouble, I like to make a big loop all the way around this thing, and that helps you to either lose enemies or put yourself into a better position to kill them, which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna start off on this side over here. There's a few items that you can pick up. And then there will be an enemy up on one of these little buildings ahead of us. And so you just want to watch. You can just see the top of their head as they're running back and forth across. And you just want to be careful. It really shouldn't see you. But you want to be a little careful of it. And now that he's taken care of, you can deal with the rest of this area. So there are 3 or 4 of the haunted-esque. I don't know if they're called haunted in this or not, guys. There are 3 or 4 of them in this area here. And you just want to try to methodically make your way through and use the pieces of cover and the patches of grass or the bushes to hide yourself. So there's going to be this one banging on this truck. And then there's the one that you probably saw move over to the right that goes back and forth in this area here. There are also some piles of oil and some... Yeah, see, he saw me then, because he's a jerk face. And then there's that one with the throwing axes, which is a bastard. And you just want to feather your run right here to get away if something like that happens. So, and he's going to hit me on the legs as I'm climbing up this ladder because, you know, that's fair. So these little patches of oil here you can set on fire. And I'm going to do that right now to deal with this enemy. And it burns them and usually effectively takes them out. And so I believe he was the only one who was really following me. And so now that he's dealt with, we can try to get back to Miss Hand Axe of Doom 2017. Who has moved back. I don't know why exactly she was outside. That was just odd placement. So something saw me. I didn't see who he was, but I think he was a guy who was over on my right. Coming into this area from that other direction, the enemies are placed slightly differently. Sometimes you can get around this corner and lose them if you get out quick enough. The reason why I wasn't able to do this before is because the lady with the throwing axes was in the middle of the road. And I used my stamina to run away from the person inside the fence and her. And if I hadn't had to do that, I could have probably hidden here, but such is life. And so usually they lose you right about there, and then we'll turn around. But you want to be careful moving back, because this is a, open fence here, and as they run back to their positions, they can see you. If you're not in the right position. So that's why I kind of got up and ran right there to make sure that they weren't going to see me. And I got here and put these pieces of cover in between me and Mean Lady. So now they've gone back to their original pattern again. And we're going to proceed with dispatching them, hopefully. Except she's going to see me again. I swear. This is like almost as bad as it can possibly go. Guys, it's just terrible. I don't even know. It's amazing. Because, sometimes they cannot see you. It's like you have an invisibility cloak on. And then other times they see you when it just feels like they shouldn't. And here she comes, and for whatever reason, she just knows where I am, and is just going to track me. But I think I've managed to evade her at this point. And we're going to head back around and do it again. There's also those two enemies that are inside that little fenced area that has the lock on it. I like to deal with them last, because if you need to run away from one of them, if you've killed everybody else in the area, then you have the room to be able to run away without running into other enemies. The other advantage of waiting is you're going to be able to pick up a hand axe from this lady that we're going to kill at some point. You know, at some point we're going to kill her without her seeing us. And at that point, you're going to be able to take her hand axe, and then you'll be able to use that on the second enemy. So you can sneak kill one and then axe the second one, and then that's a nice way to deal with both of those enemies there. So we've got this dude. And I think he's stuck, because he should be moving back and forth. This is the guy who saw me the first time that I was moving through here. He was over on the right, because his pattern is to move over to the right and then back to where he's standing. But for whatever reason, he got real confused with me running back and forth trying to evade them, and he just got sort of stuck there. So if this doesn't happen for you, just wait until he moves over to the right and you can get around and stab him. As it is, Dormouse has to deal with stupid shenanigans because, you know, people don't want to move the way that they're supposed to. And he's turned in such a way that I'm like, he's going to see me no matter which way I go around this stupid piece of cover. Because of course he is. That's just our fate. And so I decided to move around and deal with the other one first. You should be able to get that guy first, though, because he should be moving back and forth across the area. You can knock over this oil drum as well, if you want to use it to burn some people. That is definitely a useful strategy. And I think I ended up not using that one at all. I feel like I kind of saved it just in case I needed to use it against the double-headed dog thingies. But I ended up not using it because I found a nice spot inside. Okay, and so if you move around to the left of her, she's going to move back to the right, so that avoids her turning around and seeing you. There's the axe that I was telling you about. And now I'm going to get around behind this guy who is still stuck over here and kill him. And it looks like he had an axe as well. So you can use these axes on several enemies. They're good to have. Because they're real useful in a pinch, you know? And now we're going to head over and break the chain here and deal with these jerk faces. And so we're going to stealth kill one. The other one is going to get alerted. And so you just want to, very quickly kill her with the axe. And so you saw that I swung and missed at her, and it's very, very easy to do that because I don't know, the axes just don't have very good range. And so she hit me as I was recovering, which sucked. And so what I'm gonna do now is run back and use the coffee machine in the second safe house. You could use a syringe here. You could use the medical kit here. You probably are going to have plenty of healing items throughout this playthrough. But when you have access to these coffee makers, I would really suggest that you make use of them. Because that just helps you save your resources for later on when you're going to be in areas toward the middle to end of the game where you just don't have access to them, and you have to use healing items, and you have to craft things on the fly and that kind of stuff. And so if you run into trouble like this, like I did, which is very easy to do. I mean, these things, when they hit you, it hurts. And so if you get into a situation like this, I would suggest going back to use the coffee pot, especially to make sure that your health is topped off before you go into the next little section, because the end of the next little section has 3 of those double-headed dog things that you have to fight in order to move forward, and they can be irritating to deal with. I did find a really good spot that I'm going to show you to use to take them out, and so hopefully that should help you stay safe and not have to worry about losing too much health. But it's better to be safe in situations like this, because once again, this is a long level, and it is annoying to have to go back. I don't know. This is a frustration that I have with modes like this. Nothing irritates me more than wasting my time. And that's just a personal thing. For some people, they hate taking damage. For some people, they dislike deaths. For some people, they don't like it when they don't have perfect accuracy, and so some certain modes definitely play to the preferences of different people, and I can appreciate that. But I don't know. I dislike being forced to do a mode like this. Well, and I say forced. I understand it's just an achievement or a trophy, and it's not a requirement to play and enjoy the game. I get that. But if you're watching this, you're probably like me, and of the mind that you feel like you want to do these things. You want to get all the achievements. You want to get all the trophies to master the game and everything like that. But stuff like this does not make me feel like I'm mastering anything, any more than playing it on the hardest difficulty. The only thing that removing saves does is force me to go back and replay through large sections of the game that I've already done that are not that difficult because I messed up on a hard section or a boss, or I did something stupid, or my game crashed. When you don't have autosaves and your game crashes or your console freezes or you lose power, or something like that, then you've just lost a whole bunch of time that you spent doing something. And for me, personally, that frustrates me. It frustrates me a lot. And it's why I don't enjoy modes like this. It's not because I think it's too hard, and, it's not because I don't want to be challenged. I do like a challenge when it feels like a proper challenge to me. But this is nothing more than playing it on the hardest difficulty with no upgrades. And that's not that hard to do. It really isn't. Not if you play it smart, not if you use the proper resources, not if you know what you're doing and you have some good strategies. It's not that difficult to get through this game on the hardest difficulty, and it's not that difficult to do that without upgrading your character and your weapons. And so the only thing that removing saves does is make it take longer. And to me, I think that's lazy, and I just dislike it. I dislike it, and I'm not going to bitch about it anymore right now. So, there's an enemy that pops out, and he moves around this way. And it's a good idea to go ahead and use your hand axe on him. It won't kill him. But you can smash him while he's recovering. And then if you get here into this little alcove, he can't really follow you. And he will kind of reset and move back to his original spot. He does have an axe, I believe. So you can shoot him from here if you really feel like it. Oh, and one bullet took him down, and it wasn't even a headshot, so that's good to know. So the hand axes, it seems like they mostly kill these regular enemies. It just is frustrating that they don't one-shot them without upgrades. An axe to the face should kill a regular enemy. I'm sorry. I get why it doesn't kill one of the witches, and I get why it doesn't kill one of the dog things. Like, those are higher level enemies. But these regular guys, one axe to the face should kill them. Unupgraded, I don't care. It just should. But it doesn't. So, be aware, be prepared. So we're just going through here. We're picking up all these last couple of items. And then we're going to get the little cutscene, and then we're going to have to face Stefano.
Another doll. But where's Lily?
Well, we're not really going to face Stefano. We're going to see him, and then he's going to stick these little doggy things on us. So, that's super fun. And here I am not realizing that I should be skipping this little scene. But I remember it in a second. And so, something that I did like about the game is I liked that we dealt with this guy pretty early on in the game. I liked that he wasn't the main antagonist, because while I thought that he was okay.
No more signals coming into this communicator.
I wouldn't have liked it if he was the main enemy.
Sure I can trust him. But he wants out of here as bad as I want to find Lily.
I liked the way that the story played out, and I liked that they gave you a couple of different bad guys
Sebastian.
to deal with. And I thought it was an interesting little plot point that that they had created this world and then sort of put people in here. And they tried to vet them all for mental health, but obviously sometimes if people are psychopaths, basically, a lot of times they are able to fool just a regular structured interview, like what it seemed like they were doing to screen people for this. And this guy was able to do that. And I think it's an interesting little plot piece that this guy was able to get in here and basically use this world to do things that he could not do in real life, you know, because there would have been repercussions. He would have been arrested, he would have possibly been killed, he would have been put in jail, etc. But in here, he's able to slaughter people and use the abilities that he's able to gain from STEM to create his art, which is cool. I thought it was a nifty idea, and I'm also glad that he's not the main antagonist. So, moving forward, as we walk up to him, he's gonna run away. He's gonna do his little teleporty crap, and then he's going to make 3 of these little double-headed dogs appear. And then there are a couple of ways that you can approach this fight. You can use the barrels of oil that are around the area outside. You can use some of the things that are around the area inside. And you can do what I'm going to do, which is use your shock bolts and then use your explosive bolts to do quite a bit of damage on these guys. So he ran at me because he's mean. But a good place to go to is through here and up these stairs, because they have a really, really hard time following you up here. And they kind of get stuck around, lingering around the entrance here. So they're walking around, and I was able to burn one of them in this, burn 2 of them actually in that oil right there. And then the other one is attempting to make its way up the stairs here, but it's having a hard time. And so you just want to shoot it in the head, wait for it to stand up and put its face exactly where it was before, and shoot it in the head again, and do that about 3 times or so until it's dead. Huh. Maybe it's 4 times. Or more than that. Wow, it takes a lot of shots on this difficulty, doesn't it? I guess that's because it's pistol bullets. I'm thinking shotgun shells. So yeah, pistol bullets it takes 5 or 6. Shotgun, I think it takes about 3.
Hope I can reach O'Neill this time.
So that's that done. And so you can avoid, getting jumped on like I did and just run straight back here and use the oil barrel, use your bolts and things, and take out the enemies that way. And if you lure them to those stairs, that makes them easier to deal with, I think, because they're very awkward, because they just have a wide, they have wide turns, they're like semi-trucks. They have wide turns, and it's hard for them to maneuver around that little section. But yeah, you saw how much damage they did, and they get to you very, very quickly. And that was because I made the mistake there of not using another shock bolt. So what I could have done and should have done is use a shock bolt at the entrance to that storage building where they first spawn. Use a shock bolt, then use an explosive bolt, then use another shock bolt as they're recovering, and then use that to cover your retreat, so you can then move past the oil barrel and over to the stairs and then use that stuff. And that should be a better pattern, but I don't know. I hate those things. I hate those things, and I got, flustered as I was trying to do that section there. Because I knew that was really what was standing in my way of making it to my next save. Because I was pretty confident in the next couple of areas. But that part right there, I was like, I just got to get past this. And, whenever you get flustered or you get nervous, adrenaline kicks in, and sometimes you just don't do things the way that you plan to or that you think you're going to. So in any case, that is that sequence done. Learn from my mistakes and do better in that section. So this is the end of chapter 3. You're going to talk to O'Neill again, and you can skip through this little conversation. He's going to give you a gas mask to head into another section of the Marrow, and it's going to be the start of chapter 4. And chapter 4 is much, much quicker because now we're out of the big open world sequences. Chapter 3 was probably the biggest one. There's a little bit in chapters 6/7. There's a little bit. And once again in 13. Where there's a little bit more to do and a little bit more to like things to find and that kind of thing. But none of those sequences is as big as chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the real gauntlet to get through, because it has a lot of things to pick up. And then a lot of the other chapters are much more linear, which I tend to prefer. Not that these open sequences were bad. I mean, I think that they were well done because they were big enough, but not huge. If it had been much bigger than this, I think it would have been a little bit too much. So it's not really that these open sequences were bad. It's just, I prefer, in this type of game, I prefer the more straightforward A to B levels for whatever reason. And I don't know if that's just because that's how it was in the first game and I'm used to that, or what. But it just felt a little bit weird, Like if they were going to go for open world, it maybe should have been the entire thing open world. But then again, I'm glad that they didn't go that way. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought of this. Because this is them, I think, testing out whether or not people liked this format. And I'm not sure, Do we want something that's a little bit more open, or do we like our things sort of corridor to corridor to corridor to corridor? And I'm struggling, guys. It's real difficult for me because I struggle between it's like I prefer the more straightforward levels, but I also can acknowledge that like this isn't bad. Like it's not poorly designed. And I do like open world games as well. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to feel about it. And I wish that I had a more definitive like opinion on it for you guys, but I just don't. So there are several other enemies that spawn in here once you do that sequence. Most notably, this toxic abomination right here that's currently trying to find me. And so I sort of lured her around the other side of that car, and now I'm gonna run to the exit here. And then that's that sequence finished. If she screams, it gets really bad because a bunch of those bodies wake up and you have no stamina and it just gets very unpleasant. So try to avoid that if at all possible. So now we're going to head on into the main part of chapter 4. We're going to head into the marrow. Like I said, it's a much more straightforward sequence. And there's a section coming up where we have to wait for a door to open. And there's a bunch of enemies that come after you there. And that part can be kind of tricky. But hopefully I'm going to show you a couple of things that are going to make it a little bit easier for you. One thing to note is that you don't have to kill everything in order to progress. You just have to survive until the door opens. And so that's, I think, very important information because, number one, it means you don't have to waste resources if you don't want to and don't have to in order to stay alive. Number two, it means that you don't have to play super aggressively. You can run around and play pretty defensively, and that can keep you alive. You know, if you know that, like, hey, I know I don't have to kill all these things. There are a couple things left, but I know I can kite them around. Then you can absolutely do that. So just be aware and know that you have some options in this next sequence coming up here. But the other piece of this strategy is trying to kill as many of the enemies before the sequence as possible. So there are several bodies that are kind of hunched over and like laying in wait for you. And you can deal with a bunch of those before you actually start the door opening sequence, and that helps you to just have a few enemies that you deal with one by one. Which is helpful because when you're dealing with them one by one, that's much easier than dealing with them, 17 at a time. So there's a bunch of doors that are locked, and those doors are going to open up and let enemies through when you set this sequence off. So just be aware of that. But there's a ton of these enemies like on the floor and stuff, and they do get up. I'm pretty sure they get up. And so I think it's helpful to just deal with them before they have the opportunity to. So there is a pouch in this room. I'm going to kill this guy. So we have the hand axe. So that's one kill that you can make with that. That's an insta kill. And then we have this crossbow ammo pouch, which is very nice. Being able to carry more ammo is always helpful. And so I'm going to show you as many of these pouches as I think is feasible to pick up. There are a couple of them in later chapters that are just located in spots that I think it's not worth going to. But I am going to show you the vast majority of these ammo upgrade pouches because I think that they're very helpful. So now I'm going to show you like something that I don't do very often in this game, but it is a very useful maneuver, and it's helpful in certain spots. So this is one of them, and I failed with that first one because I always do everything perfectly. So if you throw a bottle at one of these enemies' faces, it should stun it and then allow you to do this insta-kill stab move, which is super helpful. It just sucks when you miss. And it's easy to miss. I mean, I guess I could also be terrible at it. I don't know. But I think it's pretty easy to miss the bottle toss. So I was trying to just stand behind that guy and see if I could sneak kill him, and I couldn't. So we're going to use the bottle to the face technique. And like I said, I used this strategy a bit in the first game, and it works just the same as it did in there. It stuns them enough that you're able to get that insta-kill move, which is very cool. And then I use it here, and I think I may use it a little bit more, like 1 or 2 more times during this playthrough, but it's not something that I use a lot, and the reason for that is it's very particular. Because, the enemies, sometimes they'll move in weird ways that make it hard to throw it right in their face. And I don't want to be doing fancy schmancy stuff a whole lot during the guide, because I don't want to be doing things that are difficult for other people to pull off. And so I did that right there, but you can also kill those guys with bullets. You can shoot them in the face if you need to, and that works as well. I would recommend that you keep yourself near full health going into this sequence, because as you saw with the one that attacked me after I failed the bottle toss, they do hurt. They do hurt if they hit you. And so there's one more guy, I think, up on one of these rafters that you can shoot before the sequence starts. You can kind of see him straight across from me right here. But there's no real way to get up to him. So you can shoot him with your gun and he'll drop down and you can use the bottle on him. But I just decided, it's one guy left. We're going to be funneling all these people anyway, so I just decided not to spend my bullet on him, but you can if you want to. So again, you need to match up these frequencies to open the door. And then instead of opening right away like the other doors do that are like this, it's going to go into this little unlock sequence, quarantine, emergency lockdown sequence. And it's going to start systematically opening doors. And so I don't know why Sebastian fell down the ladder just then, but that really kind of screwed me up. It ended up okay because it took these people a while to get to me, but you want to position yourself at the top of this ladder, and you want to use the shotgun and shoot these people in the face. And if you try to shoot them in the face, I'm not doing such a fantastic job at that, but if you shoot them in the head, then that kills them in one shotgun blast. You also need to remember to reload your weapon, like I'm forgetting to do right at this moment. And then when that guy climbed up, I was like, "Aw, crap. My shotgun isn't reloaded," because I'm an idiot. But I got away from them with only a minimal damage, which is cool. And there are 3 left, and I'm just going to put them down. Head back up to the top of this ladder. And continue to give them the business. And so that took pretty much all of my shotgun shots. It took a lot to get all of them, but I was able to do it. And that's why I wanted to take out those others with the bottles, because I wanted to save my shotgun bullets. Now you're going to have this witch, and this is the most freaking hilarious thing. I just sat here laughing when I was watching this back, because this witch running around the bottom of that ladder made me laugh so much. And then I was like, okay, so I was able to shoot her off the ladder to begin with, but then it didn't work. And so I came down, and I came back up, and then we phased through each other. I walked back up here. And it was at this moment that I realized that I did not have to kill her to get through the door. I had always killed her in the past, and so I never knew that you could just get through this section. But as soon as it said disengaged, I was like, oh shoot, I don't even have to worry about her. So I just ran on ahead and left her in the dust. So use that ladder to your advantage. The ladders in this thing are super funny because unless you're at the bottom when an enemy is trying to chase you up it, they can't really hurt you while you're on the ladders. And you're going to see that again right now as I use this ladder to my advantage to kill these next couple of guys. But it's really funny, like that phasing through the ladder thing made me laugh a lot. And then her running around the base of the thing, I don't know why that was so funny to me, but it was, because she's sitting there going and running all around. It's like she couldn't figure out that she needed to climb back up the ladder. And in my mind, it was like she thought, oh, the ladder burned me or something, so I don't know what happened to it, so I don't want to touch it again. So she was trying to figure out how to get to me without touching the ladder of doom, and then decided that she had to. But anyway, I think she's gone. I think she went back to her original location. And so that allowed me to go back through here and pick up some of these items. Which is very nice, because we all know that Dormouse loves to pick up items. It's my favorite thing. love to pick them up, and I love to hoard them. But to be fair, I did use quite a bit of ammunition during this sequence, so it's only fair to go and try to pick up some things to replenish my supply. And I knew that there were shotgun shells in this box back here that I wasn't able to pick up before, but now I'm able to. And that was really the main purpose of coming back this way. But I was also able to pick up some gunpowder and a couple of handgun bullets and all of that other nice stuff. So, back to the ladder of safety. So this ladder, it's really long, and the enemies have trouble. Just like, we phased through the witch on that previous ladder, these enemies have trouble with this particular ladder. And so, we have this guy right here ahead of me, who I tried to sneak up on and saw me. And then if you climb up this ladder a little bit, he can't really follow you. And, well, I guess this is a she. Sometimes it's a he. These enemies are randomly generated, so sometimes they'll be different character models, but they'll be the same enemy type. So, as soon as she loses you, turns around and moves away, you can slide back down the ladder and stab her in the back of the head. Then there's another one, and you can do the same exact thing here, as long as you get up the ladder a little bit so that she can't hit your feet. For whatever reason, they won't follow you up the ladder, and you can just let them lose you, move back, slide back down and take them out. And I would recommend not climbing up all the way to the top. I don't really know why I did that time. Because it made it so that it took me a very, very long time to get back to this other one. And, I managed to get there, but it was close because he was really about to turn around. So, after you've killed that guy, there's a soldier's body over here. You can pick up some more shotgun shells, replenish that supply that you probably had to use in the previous room. And then we're going to head up the ladder and into the area where we need to use the gas mask. And so Sebastian puts on the gas mask automatically, which is nice. And for whatever reason, it puts you in first-person mode, which is very odd. I'm not sure why exactly they decided to put you in first-person mode just for this section of the game, but they did. I put down that little bridge just, in case you need to backtrack. That gives you a little shortcut.
So this is the dreaded Thanks, O'Neill. I'd never make it through without this.
But yeah, so there's this gas section, and you're in first person the whole way, and it's really strange. And you can't fire weapons in here. So you can throw bottles, you can use your knife, but you cannot shoot your gun. Because if you do that, it's going to explode, it's going to kill you. And then you have to go back to your last save. And for some people, they're going to try to make it through this entire sequence right here without making a save. Which is definitely possible. I would recommend making a save either in the middle of Chapter 3 like I did, or at the end of Chapter 3, just because Chapter 3 is such a bitch to have to go back through because it's so long. And now if you're not picking up all the stuff like I was, then it's probably not going to be as long for you. I don't know why you wouldn't go through and pick up all that stuff, because it's very helpful to have resources for the end of the game, but for some people you want to get through it quicker, and I understand that. You know, this mode is not fun, and so sometimes you just don't want to linger, and you say, you know what, I can tough it through the rest of the game, I don't have to pick up the stuff here, and that's fair enough. So maybe if you went through that chapter and you didn't take quite as long as I did, it's not worth it to save during that sequence. But I will say the dogs can be tough. Hopefully, if you use that spot that I showed you, that will help make them a little bit easier. But that section is very easy to get caught and die. So I would definitely recommend making a save before you do that sequence. But if you don't want to do that, I think it is definitely a viable option to wait until the end of chapter 4 to make your first save. Because chapter 4 is not very long. There's not a lot in here that's going to be that damaging to you. Don't let that body falling scare you. That's not an enemy. It's just a body falling. It's meant to just be a jump scare. And then there's a statue back here that you can pick up another key, which is cool. You want to be careful of Toxic Abomination that's patrolling around here. She went back through that tunnel, and she should be making her way back. If you come around to the other side of this box right here and wait for her to move past you, you can get back past her and turn on the switches that you need to turn on to get through this little section. But she's really the only major threat right here, and you want to stealth around her, and it's pretty easy to do so. You just want to follow my path. So yeah, like I was saying, I think it's definitely a viable option to wait and make your first save, where I'm making my second save, and that will give you another save slot to work with in the later sections of the game, which could be really useful to you. Obviously, I didn't need that toward the end of the game, but I think if you can do that, then more power to you. It's the first, second, and fourth switch there, as you saw. And then if you do that quickly, you can get back around to this crate again and wait for her to walk past you one more time, and then you can make it to the exit. So yeah, like I said in the first video of this guide, these save slots are really just recommendations. They're suggestions. They're what worked for me, and they're not necessarily what is going to work for everybody. Right here, just notice that I was leaned out from cover. I was in cover there. I used the button to go into cover and then just kind of peeked out. That's why it looked like she was standing right in front of me looking at me and couldn't see me. But yeah, don't stand out of cover there. Just note that I was using that mechanic.
God, that mask smelled terrible.
And now you're out of the Marrow sewers and into the next section of the game. So this is going to be the start of chapter 5 here in just a second. And there are a couple of things that are left to pick up. Before I went ahead and made my next save. And so here's the deal. I didn't want to do all of that section again. I had been going for about an hour and a half, and about an hour and a half was my patience limit for having to redo things. And so I went ahead and made my save here at the beginning of chapter 5. You can get through the next part and make your save after you deal with the circular saw boss lady, if you want to. The strategy that I'm going to show you in the next video is going to be to get past her without killing her. It's not super difficult to pull off, and if you want to just get through that part and make a save after that, all you have to do is run, past her, run past the section with her, and then there are 2 enemies in the basement that you have to get past before you can get to another save location. And so if you want to chance it, and then, in case something goes wrong in the next couple of sections of the game, you won't have to do that sequence again where you run past her. But like I said, it's not that difficult, and I chose to err on the side of safety and not having to redo this hour and a half-ish of playtime that I had already had at the end of chapter 3 and, the whole way through chapter 4. But if you want to risk it and you want to get through that part and you want to make your save after that, then I think that's a totally valid choice. Like I said, this is just where I chose to save because I felt like I didn't want to waste my time having to go back through these other sections. Just in case something messed up on the circular saw lady, or on the 2 enemies in the room after that. I also think that at this point it was late and I needed to go to bed, and I didn't want to have to worry about getting through the next couple of little set pieces, and so that was another reason why I chose to go ahead and make the save where I do. It's all about doing what's right for you folks. What was right for me may not necessarily be what's right for you. But I do know for sure that this worked. It worked for me. I can tell you with 100% confidence that this worked. So here we go, out of the marrow and back into the next section of town. And that is effectively the end of chapter 4. There are no enemies in this first section of this area. There is a coffee pot here that you can use if you need to refill on some health, which is nice. And you might as well go ahead and use this because you're not going to be back here for quite a little while. So you might as well use that, and you might as well use that mirror after you get your next key. To go ahead and visit the lockers one more time, but there is one more key that we're going to grab here. It's around the back of this building. And so once you exit here, you can move around and pick this little booger up. And then the other important thing that's right here at the beginning of this area is Well, I guess two more nice things. There's an axe in that barrel, which is cool to have for later on. And there is the medicine pouch upgrade that allows you to hold more medical syringes, which is good. It's definitely a good thing. And so you don't want to follow Stefano. Yay, it's chapter 5. You don't want to follow him right yet. You do want to come around here and grab this syringe pouch upgrade. And then there are a couple more items on the left of the area as well. So I think it's helpful to just go ahead and pick up this stuff. And if you're going to make a save here, go ahead and pick it up and then make the save. That way, if for whatever reason something goes wrong, you don't have to worry about collecting stuff anymore. And it just saves you that minute little bit of frustration, you know? Because for me, the faster I can get back into the difficult section, the better. You know, I don't want to waste my time piddling through these little sections where it's just running around and picking up items and killing, you know, little enemies and stuff like that. That frustrates me. You know, I want to get right back into the difficult section. And so for me, saving before the difficult sections was always the right choice, because that meant that if something went wrong in the difficult part, I could get right back into it, and I did not have to go through a bunch of crap in order to get back there. And so for me, that was the choice that made the most sense. For other people, you know, they don't want to have to redo difficult things, and so making the save after the boss fights and after the more difficult encounters makes sense if you have the patience to wade back through, you know, a good chunk of the levels. So it's all about preference. It's all about what works for you. But for me, I made a save here. So this was save number 2. Right here at the beginning of chapter 5. And I will see you in the next part, where we're going to go through the next couple of chapters. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope that this was helpful for you. And I'm going to see you in part 3.